I want to get into imagination games and fun with hypnosis, but I think we need to go through some basic fundamental laws and dynamics of the mind. Is this loud enough for everybody? Okay. Well, I am asking. Okay. So one of the first things we're going to talk about laws of mental dynamics. And we're going to talk about the 6 dynamics of an unconscious response. They're both very dynamic. This is the one that you really need to master. All the others you don't need to know to be functional. To be effective cross-contextually and to engineer influence, then you need to understand those. But if you're going to start doing work with people, if you want to eliminate resistance to change, if you want to create a deeper level of connection and communion with the different aspects of yourself, you need to understand the 6 dynamics of an unconscious response. We've talked about those in the early part of today. We're going to go through them again. Subconscious mind, other than conscious mind, autonomic nervous system, whatever word you want to apply to it, always answers first. 99 times out of 100, actually 100 times out of 100, as far as I'm concerned, whatever pops up into your head first is the right answer. Regardless of how irrelevant, inconsequential, or seemingly stupid the answer seems to be, whatever comes up first usually gives you the most direct route to the issue. After many, many years of doing this, I've come to the conclusion that there's, with very few exceptions, there's no such thing as a random thought. No such thing as a random emotion. Just because you don't see how they're all connected or where they emerge from doesn't make them random. We live in a universe that is so and a nervous system that is so fundamentally interconnected, it gives the illusion, it gives the appearance of being random. What exactly is going on down there? Hence my asking it. Okay then. So, whatever comes up first is almost always the right answer. Now, here's how you use this clinically. When you have a client that you're about to do session work with, Moss's Mega just doubled in price. Anyway, when you have a client, teach these dynamics to them first. And there's a reason. Because these dynamics match 90% of what the average client experiences the first time they're hypnotized. And they go to the roots of why people try to invalidate their experience. Remember, you're always going to be fighting the battle between expectation and experience. In the coaching program, the Influential Healer Coaching Program, which meets on Sundays, we talked about the law of expectation. What the mind expects to happen tends to be realized. When the expectation doesn't match the experience, we create cognitive dissonance and we devalue the experience. We disqualify the experience. You are engineers of human experience. And so you must understand this. This is how human beings operate by default. When what we get isn't what we expect, we are automatically unsatisfied unless it's something better. So you have to engineer and control that, right? You can do that through the clothes you wear. You can do it through the environment in which you operate. You can do it by the types of languaging that you use, the metaphors you use. There's all kinds of ways to prime people for a certain expectation. But what happens is, when people come into your clinic, especially if they know you're going to do hypnosis, they have a head full of ideas about what hypnosis is, how it works, what it's supposed to feel like, all that crap. And in classical hypnosis, you'll spend the first 90 minutes of your session teaching people about all the myths and misconceptions about hypnosis, which half of them they never heard of, but now they have. So now you've literally primed them for resistance in your session. So in my hypnosis work, I don't even call what I do hypnosis most of the time. What you want to give them is a way to think about their experience. This is how you want them to think about it. Why? Because you're going to ask them to do something, and something weird is going to pop up that they didn't expect. If they don't know how to think about it, they're going to assign a meaning. They're going to create a narrative that is usually not in your best interest. It's not in the direction of change that you want to create. So by front-loading your client with these, they automatically know how to think about the experiences they're about to have. Okay? If you try to teach this to them after they've had the experience, now they think you're trying to defend the session. This is called the law of primacy. Whatever's there first becomes the standard by which everything else is measured. So expectation, primacy, right? Control the narrative, control the expectation right from the beginning. Does that make sense? Unconscious mind always answers first. It always answers honestly. We'll repeat that. The unconscious mind, not only does it always answer first, it always answers honestly. That doesn't mean it's right, factually. Because the unconscious mind does not care about what's true. It cares about what it perceives as being true. And you have to understand that. You have to be able to step into their model of the world and operate as if what they're telling you is the truth until it's not. Okay? You never argue with a client about whether something happened or didn't happen. About 1% of my clients, when we come in for deep work, about 1% or better of my clients will spontaneously regress to a past life or an alien abduction. Does it matter? No. Because whether that hallucination or that memory or that subjective experience, which is basically what we're dealing with, is real and literal or metaphorical, it doesn't matter. It's connected to the problem. So we deal with it the same way, right? We're not in the capital T truth business. We're in the subjective truth business, right? You are the way you are because of the things you recorded, not what actually happened. The truth is that the memories you have about your past aren't even accurate. They're not even accurate recordings of what actually did happen. Every time, your memories are not remembered so much as reconstructed. And every time you reconstruct the memory, it's a little different. And it's not uncommon for two discrete memories to be combined together to create a third memory. So here's the takeaway from that. If your life is the way it is, and you are the way you are, because of the way you recorded your memories and the way you're relating to those, and they're not even real, they're not even accurate, why not change them to something better? Well, what? Well, I won't be me, or am I allowed to do that, or can I do that? Right? So let's talk about, while we're on the subject of six dynamics of an unconscious response, let's talk about the two big delusions that all humans operate under. Can we fix this? This thing keeps sliding down. This thing here. Let Rumble do it. The two big delusions that human beings operate from. Remember, to recap, you're not the way you are because of what happened to you. You're the way you are because of the way you recorded what happened to you and the way you're relating to those recordings. There. Now we'll see if it stays. Delusion number one. You believe your memories are real. That they are, in fact, what happened. They are not. Saying your memories are real is like saying the sum total of your DVD collection or at home is the sum total of your entertainment experience. They are not real. You labor under the delusion that the memory is, in fact, the thing that happened. It isn't. It's just a recording, an imperfect one that constantly changes every time it's brought up. not real. It's just something you made up. Second delusion. You believe your memories are you. They are not. Once again, think of the DVD collection, right? Your collection of YouTube videos is not you. Your memories are not you. They're things you have, they're things you made, but they are not you. In fact, in advanced ascension, purification, and mystical training, you actually get rid of your memories because they're holding energy that you could use for something else. So there's something you have, there's something you made, they're not who you are. But we treat them as real objects, and we treat them as if that is who we are. You are not your history. The very fact that you're in this room, able to hear this conversation and think about the things that happened to you, means you've already won. Because the things that hurt us, the things that traumatize us, they only traumatized us because our nervous system believed they were going to kill us. Either directly or indirectly. That's what happened. That's why you logged a trauma. Because you're on the 0 to 10 scale, you hit that T9 moment, your brain activated its trauma survival mechanism, captured that information like the old Ghostbusters movie, captures the ghost, sucks it in a little trap, sticks it in a hard drive we call the body, until you can go back and fix it, which we don't. Right? It's more true than it isn't. Right? And that just stays in there on an endless loop. It's a fragment of your consciousness and your energy locked away somewhere that can't be used for something better. And it's holding you back. And every now and then, when something in your environment is similar to what's in that box, your nervous system gives it a little ping. Now, you've all heard me say this little story, right, real quick. How many of you have ever been little children? Okay. So think about it this way. Right. One of the prime directives of your unconscious mind is to hold memories in storage for processing at a later time by the conscious mind. Oh, God screwed that one up. But anyway. So what happens is a lot of times the unconscious mind is down there. It's holding all this stuff, looking for an opportunity to get rid of some of it. So picture this. You're driving down the road, beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, got the sun in my eye. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a dream. Little Helen Reddy action going on there. Or Carpenters. You can't remember. Carpenters, right? And all of a sudden, a shitty memory from when you were 7 pops up out of nowhere. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you immediately slam the car off to the side of the road, put the brake on, turn the ignition off, put it in park, right? And go diving into your subconscious mind to fix that shit? Or do you do this? Not going to think about that right now. Right? Every time your unconscious mind sends you a little message that there's something here you need to clean up, it's sensing that you're not doing anything important right now. Or it likes to think you're not. And it's sending you this little thought bubble, hoping you'll come back and resolve this. But you don't. Why? Because one of the superpowers of the conscious mind is it can stop an unconscious process long enough to do something else. Okay? And so rather than going in and digging that stuff out, you distract yourself, you deny it, you push it back down. For every unit of energy you have stored in the system, you need an equal or greater amount of energy to keep it there. And that shit works great until about your 30s. That's when shit starts to break down. Okay, so by the time you hit 40, 45, you're starting to get the hints of some kind of chronic issues. Why? Because the amount of stem cell you're producing isn't enough to keep up with the emotional damage you've been accumulating. And that's why as your stem cells drop, all the bad shit comes up because you're out of homeostasis. And because you haven't been going in and cleaning, you keep accumulating more shit. Right? So again, we need to stop that process. And you're going to have all the tools to do that. Right? Circling back to 6 dynamics of an unconscious response, always answers first. It always answers honestly. The unconscious mind does not care what actually factually happened. Now, I said the fact that you're in this room able to think about the things that happened to you in the past means you already won. Why? Because you're not dead. You survived, which by definition means you are stronger than everything this universe threw at you. You already beat it. The rest is cleanup. That's it. Tell that to your client. You'll see a profound change in seconds. Because they have the delusion that the memory of the thing that happened is the thing. And it isn't. It's just a recording. They've already beaten it. Okay? The way they're trying to deal with it may be fucked up in terms of their immediate responsiveness or the results they're generating in life, but that's not the problem. The problem is why they're doing it. The unconscious mind doesn't care what's true from a factual perspective. It's always going to give you its honest belief about why it's doing what it's doing. Okay? It's always going to feel made up. This is a big one. Why does it feel made up? Because the part of you that controls your heartbeat, your hormones, your blood pressure, your memories, your emotions, your fantasies, your daydreams is also the part that makes things up. It's that simple. Just because it feels made up doesn't mean it isn't real. Real takes on a whole different kind of meaning here. Real means functional, something we can do something with. Okay? And we can. We can work miracles if we're willing to accept that just because it feels made up doesn't mean it isn't real and isn't powerful. Okay? You're always going to have an urge to edit what just came up. The moment you catch yourself going, oh, that can't be right. That's not it. What I meant was, anytime you find yourself wanting to explain, elaborate, or invalidate your first response, is your conscious mind trying to run the show. It's trying to get you sucked into a hamster wheel of recursive, obsessive, cyclical thinking. This is your Bible, Quran, whatever treatise you want to use. This is your guidepost. This is your Rosetta Stone for dialoguing with the autonomic system. For dialoguing and communicating with the part of you that controls everything. Okay? Because if your conscious mind could figure this shit out, you wouldn't be here. Remember, the conscious mind is the seat of rationality. Most of our shit isn't rational. Irrational problems require irrational solutions. Okay? Always answers first. Always answers honestly. Always feels like you're making it up. Always have an urge to edit what just came up. This is even you as trained therapists and healers and doing this. When you start working on yourself, you're going to try to this is going to nail you. You're always going to want to try to elaborate, explain, say, what I meant was, no. All you want to do is what's next? What's behind that? What's behind that? What's behind that? And just dig deeper. The minute you catch yourself thinking, deducing, analyzing, that's your conscious mind trying to run the show. When it comes up first, the most linear track. Okay? It's never loud and it's never linear. Most of the time, there's an old saying that the conscious mind shouts, the unconscious mind whispers. What does this mean functionally? More often than not, a communication from your other than conscious mind, unless it's an abreaction, which is usually a body response more so than anything else. It'll always be like quiet, like a whim or a notion in the back of your mind. If you've ever watched, if you've ever watched any of our reprogrammed subconscious mind videos, I talk about beliefs. I say you have two sets of beliefs. There's beliefs you know about and beliefs you don't. Right? The beliefs you know about are very simple and very straightforward to fix. It's the beliefs you know about that you don't know about that screw you up. The only time you can find a belief you don't know about is when it's provoked. Okay? Now, when you come to, we might do this here, but for sure in Hypnotic Laws of Attraction in Vegas, and then where else do I teach you informations? besides hidden laws? Yeah, okay. So one of the things that will happen is, how many people know what affirmations are? Well, since we're on this subject, let's explore this right now, because this is another one of those really cool places where language and dynamics interact. Any questions about what I've talked about so far before I move on? Is this useful? Okay. Just understanding the 6 dynamics and teaching them to your clients will eliminate 80 to 90% of any resistance the client is willing or capable of generating. You will work hard, you will get more done faster. When you're working on yourself, it will make all of your self-work dramatically easier. It becomes a very linear process. But you have to understand that the way the unconscious mind or the autonomic system communicates is very, very different from the conscious mind. And if you don't understand how the dynamics of both, you'll misinterpret one for the other, and you'll wind up running west looking for a sunrise. Ellie. Microphone for Ellie, please.
So before I go to the affirmations, I want to revisit what I just said about the beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So beliefs that you don't know about. Obviously, they're still running the show, right? It's just happening.
Yes. Yeah.
Without you
And
really.
they often manifest in a very quiet, subtle, in the background kind of a manner. So, and this is where we're going with this. Like a whim or a notion in the back of your mind. We're going to actually have an experience. We're going to actually provoke beliefs we didn't know we had.
Okay, so yeah, that's actually pointing to my question. How do you actually dive deep enough to understand what's...
You go for the things you want. That's the fastest way to do it.
And get stopped by something? And then you get stopped by something? Or like...
Trust me, all will be revealed very shortly.
Thank you.
All right, I want you to think of something that you really, really want. Let's just stand up to do this. All right, so we all know what affirmations are? So the old chestnut that everybody uses is every day, in every way. Finish the phrase. Exactly. I'm getting better and better. And it's a good one. It works. Just takes a lot of repetitions. Yes. Why does it take a lot of repetitions? Because it's not in harmony with your nervous system. The structure of it is incomplete. Okay? Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better and better. Very good, right? Did you say bullshit? That's what the voice said, exactly. Right? All right, so I want you to think of something that you want on a scale of 0 to 10 that maybe you're having a little challenge getting to, right? And I want you to say every day in every way, I'm getting X, whatever it is, to yourself. Just say it out loud. First of all, become aware of how your body feels right now. Right? And now, start to say the affirmation to yourself and notice what changes in your body. Boy, that's really loud, guys. When would now be a good time to use your fucking voice? Let's go. Every day in every way, blah, 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 blah. Every day in every way. Right? All right, good, good, good. Okay, good. All right, stop. Scan your body. Tell me what changed in your body. You have any good feelings? Meh? Okay, okay. So.
I'm tighter.
You're tired? Good.
No, tight.
That's a.
Tight.
What'd she say?
Like
tighter.
tight. Like
okay.
it's not in harmony.
So here's what we're going to do. Have a seat. Let's go through this really quick. Okay? Close your eyes. Put your feet flat on the floor. Think of something you really, really want. Like on a scale of 0 to 10, it's like a 97. Right? I call this your Steven Spielberg moment. I want you to imagine what it would be like to have that. What might you see? What might you hear? What might you smell? What might you taste? Make that movie big as a giant drive-in movie theater screen, crystal clear like an IMAX. Turn up the sound, the smells, the taste, the feeling. Best life ever. When the movie's perfect in every way, I want you to watch it over and over and over again. Not once, not twice, but hundreds and thousands of times at the speed of thought. With each repetition, I want you to make it 10 times stronger, 100 times better, 1,000 times more thrilling, fulfilling, and satisfying than ever before, until it overwrites and replaces every experience you've ever had before, and then it just keeps getting better. I'd like you to notice there's a place in your body where those amazing feelings start, where they grow, where they spread from. Take a moment, notice where you feel it, and point to it. Excellent. Now, notice there's a color connected to that feeling. What's the color or first impression? Now, take that color, fill the room with it, breathe it through your body, and notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as that energy moves through you. When you got that, allow your eyes to open, look up here. What'd you notice?
That was more harmonious.
What's that?
That was more harmonious. It relaxed.
Excellent. How many of you felt really good? How many of you noticed that most of you felt good, but here and there were these little icky, naggy little moments? Congratulations, you just found the beliefs you didn't know you had. Were they loud? Did they seem like they were distant or far off, like they weren't any big deal? Congratulations. They don't feel loud, they don't feel strong, not because they're weak. They have that experience because they're deep. They're deep in the tissues, they're deep in the nervous system, they're deep in the three bodies. And it percolates up. So what happens in most people when we're doing affirmations or something to program our mind, as we're doing the affirmations or the color, we focus on the color, making the colors bigger and brighter and stronger, and we try to ignore the little icky, naggy, what about this feeling? Or, Jody, the bullshit feeling, right? Remember, the background belief is the limiter. You have to go after that, but sometimes the only way to find them is to provoke them. Now, I'll bet if I were to ask you, where in your body do you feel those icky, naggy feelings? You could point right to it, couldn't you? Well, guess what you do next? Unpack and attack, baby. But you didn't know it was there until you went for what you wanted. So you have to become, my first job as your teacher isn't to give you more and more techniques, that's on the agenda. It's to help you become progressively more aware of yourself. Become aware of the subtle changes and transformations and juxtapositions where one part of my body feels this way, another part feels different, and why? What's behind that? Every part of your body has a message to give you, a communication that every part of you is trying to communicate with every other part, right? The question is, do you have the tools and the awareness to decipher what it's giving you? Okay? So, never loud, and it's almost never linear. I promise you, if we were to unpack those icky, naggy feelings, you think it has something to do with something you're trying to create in the future. But if I would say, go back to the very first scene, situation, or event that is the source, the beginning, the root cause, you'll probably be anywhere between 0 and 5 years old. 99% of your stuff, 0 to 5. The rest of it, 5 to 10, every now and then in your teens. Very, very rarely is the initial sensitizing event, the original moment, the hook that all of your subsequent memories are pegged on. Very rarely is it beyond the age of 10. Right? Someone comes into your clinic at 35, they can't, they went through this horrible breakup and now they can't get into the dating world. Their whole life's a basket case. They broke up 4 years ago, they still can't get past it. You talk to the system, you say, go back to the very first scene, situation, or event that is the source to the beginning. All of a sudden they're 3 years old watching their parents argue. Right? Had nothing to do with them, but it did. Right? And then the linear part of your mind says, oh, that can't be right. That's not even about me. Yeah, it is. Right? Because when our stit's recorded, it's recorded at the age of maturity that we were at, not the age we are now. Okay? So every single memory that you have is a fragment of your consciousness frozen in time. And it's holographic and fractal in nature. In other words, that piece knows and understands everything you did at the moment that moment was recorded, and nothing beyond it. It's on like a movie on an endless loop. Your job is to go back in, rescue that fragment of consciousness, and reintegrate it back into the host consciousness, whether that's in yourself or in your client. But it's still just cleanup. Okay? Unconscious mind always answers first, always answers honestly, always feels like you're making it up, always have an urge to edit what just came up, never loud, almost never linear. Every once in a blue moon, what the person comes in the door with is actually where you need to go. We call that in hypnosis, we call that the presenting problem, which 99.9% of the time is never the real problem. When you get somebody who comes in with a laundry list of stuff, and you're like, holy shit, how am I going to fix all that in one session? I promise you, 80% or better comes down to one thing. You fix that, 80% of their shit goes away. The unconscious mind sees connections and makes connections that our conscious mind has no idea about. When our conscious mind looks at our memories and it looks at our history, it doesn't see how things connect. It's very limited. So when you look from the present back, you don't see all the connections. But when you look from the past forward, everything becomes clear. It's about perspective and consciousness. Okay. Questions about that? This is still not really working out so well. Anyway, go ahead.
So you said that, not sure I fully remember what you've said, but there was a phrase where, so when you fix that one thing, 80% of the shit people go through goes away. If I'm seeing clients, for example, how do you address that one thing other than asking, there's a reason why you're here, and then going on from there?
Okay, so first of all, you let them go through their list, right? It may take, again, I charge by the minute. So if it takes them 40 minutes to go through their laundry list, I let them do that because some people need to talk. But as they go through their list, their transderivational their neurology is accessing all of those memories and cortical pathways. And so the part where they all connect is getting hyperstimulated because all the information is passing through that same area. So by letting them talk about it, you're bringing it closer to the surface, right? I never explained the neurology of it before, but this is how I do it, right? And it leads them to believe that you're going to deal with each of these things individually. You're not. Very, very seldom you get someone so metallic that they literally are checking things off as they're going through the session. But what will happen as you go through your general treatment silo, induce, transition metaphor, general negativity clearing, specific negativity clearing, you're going to say something as simple as, well, there's a feeling you've been having, a feeling you want to change, a feeling that has everything to do with why you're here today. In a moment, I want you to notice that there's a place in your body where the feeling connected to that reason is stored. Point to where you feel it. Now, there's a reason, there's a feeling you've been having, a feeling you want to change. Did I specify what that feeling was? Exactly. Their unconscious mind is going to choose. What do you think it's going to choose? The biggest, nastiest, most problematic thing that's going on in their life, based on what the unconscious mind thinks is a priority. Remember, it was the person's unconscious mind that brought them to your clinic, not their conscious mind. That's the illusion. Your unconscious mind has all these millions of devious ways of putting you where you need to be without you realizing you're doing it. Right? And if you're having a little cognitive dissonance about that statement, I want you to think about something. No pun intended. Every single thing that you can become aware of, that you can notice, that you can think about, had to first pass through every division of your nervous system to get to your conscious awareness. Everything that I'm saying to you right now that you think you're processing has been filtered, deleted, distorted, generalized, connected to other things before you even had a chance to consciously ponder it. Who's really driving the bus? So your unconscious mind will put you in places under one context or under one reason, and you're there for a completely different one. Right? So the unconscious mind said, hey, we need to fix this. I'm going to have to engineer something to make them fucking do it. And so it does. Now, as you get deeper into the alchemy of things, you'll learn to actually manage that process. So the unconscious mind is always bringing cool shit into your life instead of putting you in bizarre circumstances because you've been praying wrong. Right? Remember, fear is a prayer for the things we don't want. Yes.
So I had a new and interesting experience.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. When you took me to that, get what is it that you want to happen in the future, I wanted something that I've never experienced. I have no, like, any way to understand how it would look like, but just using my imagination of this is how I want it to be. The first time ever, I didn't have any, you can't do this, or that's a bad idea. I didn't have any negatives. It was all positive. So my question is, because I came out feeling extremely good because there was nothing to attach to it, is it safe to assume, is it because I have no understanding of what it is, so I can't understand the negative side of it, and that's why it was more potent?
What's your intuition tell you?
Yes.
See? What answers first? Right? Our neurology is always trying to assign cause and effect relationships to everything we experience. We call that a story. That's all a story is a series of cause and effect relationships strung together with a few meanings thrown in for good measure. They're not real. They're not even true. They're just a map that we use to navigate reality. So the meaning you assign to something will determine what your system does with it. Right? So for those of you who are new to Planet David, I strongly recommend you check out the works by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, How Emotions Are Made, and 7.5 Lessons About the Brain. Yes. It is on the book list.
Sorry, here's still a question. Can you hear us?
I can hear. I can't see, but I can hear.
Sorry. Yeah. Question was there for a longer time. So, first thing was for the beliefs. If I have a belief, if I feel a negative belief, is it enough to change the feeling to a positive one, or do I have to do consciously something to the belief as well, like formulating the opposite, or is the feeling enough just to change it?
Depends. I don't use the feeling. I use the feeling as a way to measure and test the change work I've done. So I would almost always figure out if there's a reason my body or some mechanical process I need to change a belief. But a lot of times you don't even need to know what the belief is. That's where it gets really weird. And this is again is where psychology and us. There's a lot of things that you can clear up. You don't even need to know consciously what they are. They're just shit that's stored in the body that you randomly picked up that just needs to go. Now, there's a part of you, the part that created that always knows. So you can let that part do the clearing. Okay? Questions? Yes, Ellie. Microphone for Ellie. Is this helpful, useful? Okay.
I just wanted to ask you to repeat the phrase that you said a moment ago. The meaning you assign to something will define?
The meaning you assign to anything will determine what direction your neurology goes with it. So when I talked about, remember when I was talking about X causes Y? We call that a cause and effect structure. Now, it comes out in our language, it's delivered linguistically, but it's a filter that's pervasive at every level of human awareness. It's so high up in our system that there are very few things that it does not influence or control. The only filter that's higher than cause and effect is awareness. Okay, so when we get to belief systems and stuff like that, I'll expand a little bit on that. But the most powerful language patterns that we have are powerful because they're analogs. of filters that operate in the human being. Our human nervous system is always trying to figure out what came first, what came second, what caused what. But beyond that, it's also trying to figure out what means what. So X caused Y, and what does that mean to me? It's the meaning that we assign to things that determine our level of consciousness. Okay, data points in a room can all be identical, right? How many people have ever heard of this thing called luck? Okay, so you guys know I'm going to be doing a 3-day seminar in July, and it's a hybrid. I've never taught this before, and it's basically how to become the embodiment of luck using identity by design, right? So I have 2 different programs that I've been teaching. One is called Identity by Design, right? You're in that class right now. I also have a program called Hidden Laws of Attraction, which is all about manifestation and things of that nature. I also have a smaller product that I talk about periodically called Get Lucky for Life. It's not what you think, or maybe it is, right? And basically what Get Lucky for Life is about the 5 or 6 characteristics all lucky people have. There's 5 or 6 basic psycho-emotional traits. Has nothing to do with metaphysics, nothing to do with energy, nothing to do with anything on the woo spectrum at all. Has everything to do with certain psycho-emotional traits that every lucky person on the planet, when studied, exhibited. First one being, they identify as being lucky. In fact, when I teach this class, the moment I start the class, 5 or 6 hands go up and say, yeah, I'm a naturally lucky person. I'm really interested about tonight's topic. They instantly self-identify as lucky. Yes, Ernie. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it has nothing to do with their awareness of cause and effect. They just automatically have an identity that says good things happen to me. Right? Now, I'm not saying you might be able to install that. Right? So I've done quite a study on this for a number of years, right? And I had some epiphanies this year that brought it all together in a very powerful, very holistic way. So what I'm going to be doing in July is I'm going to be bringing all those pieces together. And for 3 days, I'm going to run you through process after process after process, and then you're going to go out and bend forks and spoons and win dice games and do all kinds of crazy shit to test it. Right? It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you guys want to come out, I invite you out. But the science is cool, and I've had this for years. I think it came out of Psychology Today, but basically what they did was they rented out. You guys remember we talked about the emotional refractory period and the reticular activating system? What does that do? It's a filter. What does it control? What you pay attention to. Right? So you have 10 data points in a room. 8 of them are good. 2 of them suck. You go into that room in a bad mood. What do you orient on first? The suck. Right? You walk into a room, same 10 data points. Now you're in a good mood. Exactly. Whatever body state you have, that reticular activating system is going to sort for elements in the environment that re-trigger or reinforce that state. It's a perpetual loop. Okay? Your body wants to maintain an equilibrium. That's why we call it the emotional refractory period. Okay? So what they did, they wanted to see if there's something about perception that lucky people have. So here's what they did. They rented a restaurant. I don't know why I'm drawing this, but it just feels right. Right? And then they populated the entire restaurant with actors pretending to be patrons. This was done in England. They placed a 20-pound note on the floor. And they divided their subjects into three groups. People who self-identified as being lucky, people who self-identified as being average, and the schlepprocks of the world. Wowzy. Some of you know who schlepprock is. That's exciting and terrifying at the same time, right? People who basically identified as being unlucky. Here's what happened. They sent the groups in one at a time. And what they were calibrating is how fast did people find the note on the floor, the bill on the floor. 100% of the lucky people found the note in minutes, in seconds. Just walked in, boom, went right to it. As you can probably extrapolate, About 50% of the average people found the note, half of them didn't, give or take. As far as we know, the unlucky people are still trying to find the restaurant. What's the moral of the story? The identity and the meaning you assign to yourself goes to your reticular activating system. It goes to the process of the part of your physical anatomy that controls your consciousness and your perception. And now we're on the endless loop. It's everything that human beings do is a feedback loop. If you inject change at any point of that loop, it will generalize to the rest of it. Okay? But you got to go meta to the loop to inject change. They did the same thing with they put ads in a newspaper for discounts or $20. I forget how they did it, but all the lucky people found the stuff in the newspaper, and all the unlucky people didn't. So what we're doing in January, not January, blood sugar dropping low. All right, we're going to in identity by design, get lucky for life, and then we're going to do the energetic part of it too, where you actually create emotional alchemy and open the heart and generate a positive generic probability field as well as linear manifestation techniques. It's going to be fun. But when are our dates for July? Yeah. They don't know what you're talking about prior to that and after that. The reason he's talking around the weekend is because there's a hypnosis convention called Hypnothoughts, and I'm doing a 3-day pre-conference, and then 3 days I'm teaching 2 breakouts at the conference, and then I'm doing an energy training as a post-conference. 15th, yeah. So we can talk about that stuff later. Are we clear about these 6 dynamics? Oh, was I? Really, Mary? I was going to do that. Did I? Moving on.